I watched a bulldozer crush my $5 million lakefront mansion while the HOA president smiled and sipped champagne. That's not hyperbole. That's Tuesday morning, 9:15 a.m., standing barefoot in my driveway, still in boxer shorts, watching strangers demolish the boathouse my dying grandfather built with his own hands. The same boathouse where my late wife and I carved our initials 30 years ago. The same one I'd just spent 6 months restoring in her memory. The crime? I owed the HOA $300. $300. Vivica Drummond, HOA president, spray-tanned tyrant, professional clipboard warrior, stood 50 feet away recording it on her iPhone, that Starbucks iced latte sweating in her manicured hand. She wanted me to see her enjoying this. Wanted me broken. Here's what she didn't know. I didn't just own that house. I owned the dirt under her entire neighborhood, and I was about to make her regret every second of this. Drop your state below, because I know you've got HOA horror stories too. My name is Maxwell Cordell, Max to anyone who isn't trying to serve me legal papers. 52 years old, former structural engineer, the kind who designs cell towers that don't fall over in hurricanes. I sold my patents 4 years ago, retired early, and thought I'd spend my golden years doing absolutely nothing stressful. Then my wife Lillian died. Cancer. 18 months of watching the strongest person I'd ever known fade into someone I barely recognized. The kids, both grown, both living their own lives on opposite coasts, they tried to help. But you can't outsource grief. You just survive it. 6 months after her funeral, my grandfather Dutch passed away at 93. Heart failure, peaceful in his sleep. The man had survived Korea, built half the houses in this county with his bare hands, and taught me everything I know about integrity. His last words to me, a week before he died: "The lake house is yours now, Maxie. Take care of her. She'll take care of you." The lake house. 2.8 acres of pure Michigan waterfront on Mirror Lake. Dutch bought the land in 1963, back when this area was nothing but woods and optimism, and built 4 homes around the shoreline. Ours was the crown jewel, 7,200 square feet, floor-to-ceiling windows facing the water, stone fireplace he'd mortared himself, and that boathouse. God, that boathouse. I moved in 3 months after his funeral, sold my condo in Grand Rapids, packed up Lillian's things, her recipe cards, her gardening books, the ridiculous collection of coffee mugs she'd insisted on keeping, and drove north. The smell of cedar hit me the moment I opened the door. Dutch had replaced those dock planks every decade like clockwork. You could still see the pencil marks where he'd measured each cut. I spent $400,000 renovating. New solar panels, ramps and grab bars. Dutch had needed a wheelchair those last 2 years. I restored that 1960s stone fireplace to exactly how it looked in the old photographs. And the boathouse. I reinforced every beam, replaced the roof shingles one by one, repainted it in Dutch's original forest green. Lillian and I had carved our initials into the door frame in 1994. M+L, inside a lopsided heart. I cried when I sanded around it, making sure I didn't damage a single groove. The lake itself became my therapy. Mornings I'd hear loons calling across the water, this haunting, lonely sound that somehow made me feel less alone. I'd sit on the dock with coffee, running my hands along that worn rope on the tire swing Lillian had insisted we hang for future grandkids we'll definitely have someday. We never had grandkids, but I kept the swing. Here's what I didn't know. While I was drowning in grief and renovation dust, the neighborhood had changed. Some developer bought up 47 parcels around the lake and slapped up McMansions, $800,000 to $1.2 million. All identical, all beige, all soulless. They formed an HOA in 2018. Mirror Lake Estates Homeowners Association. Dues were $2,400 a year. The 4 original properties, mine included, technically predated the HOA, but the developer encouraged us legacy owners to join for community harmony. Dutch, getting older and less interested in fighting, had signed something. I inherited that signature. And apparently I inherited $11,700 in back fees and penalties Dutch had ignored. I found out about the debt the same week I finished the boathouse. A certified letter, thick envelope, return address, V. Drummond, HOA president. Inside, a $300 fine for architectural violations. My grandfather's 60-year-old boathouse didn't match their approved color palette. The letter ended with the helpful note, handwritten in purple ink. Legacy properties must comply with current standards. Looking forward to your cooperation. Vivica. That smiley face she drew next to her name? That should have been my first warning. I'm not a confrontational guy. I solve problems with spreadsheets, not shouting matches. So I called the HOA office. Got voicemail. Vivica's syrupy voice. You've reached Mirror Lake Estates, HOA, your community, your home, your investment. 2 business days turned into a week. I called 4 times. Finally drove to her office, her finished basement with a hand-painted HOA headquarters sign in aggressive cursive. Chemical floral air freshener hit me first, thick enough to taste. Vivica sat behind a salvage desk surrounded by color-coded binders. Mine was red. Never a good sign. Mr. Cordell? Acrylic nails clicked against my palm. Please, sit. No coffee offered. Power move. This boathouse fine. I slid the letter across. It was built in 1963, before your subdivision existed. Oh, I understand completely. Shark smile. But Legacy Properties agreed to current standards, Section 4.7. Would you like a printed copy? I'll paint it whatever color fixes this. Click, click, click on her calculator. Before any remediation, you must clear the outstanding balance of $11,700. I stared. What? Your grandfather's unpaid fees, 6 years of accumulation plus penalties. Liens transfer with property, Mr. Cordell. Perhaps you should have done due diligence during probate. The printout showed $11,700 in itemized charges dating to 2018. Late fees compounding like cancer. Lillian used to handle this stuff. She read the fine print. After she died, I'd been on autopilot, trusting lawyers caught everything. Wrong. County records are public for a reason. $50 could have saved me this. Dutch was 90, I said. Probably didn't understand. Nevertheless. Payment plan materialized. 5 years, 18% interest. I'd designed earthquake-proof cell towers more stable than that math. I'm not signing today. Of course. But Section 7.3 allows liens if accounts stay delinquent past 90 days. Just FYI. That smile. I left without slamming the door. 2 weeks later, fluorescent orange notice of lien sticker on my front door. 8 inches tall, visible from the road. Gus knocked that evening with a Bud Light, looking uncomfortable. They got you too? He nodded at the sticker. What do you mean? The Reagans, 4 houses down. Vivica filed a lien over $900 last year, foreclosed when they couldn't pay. Teacher salaries, you know. They're renting 40 minutes away now. He sipped his beer. Lost everything. Cold settled in my gut. Over $900? HOA's got teeth. And Vivica doesn't just win. She makes sure you know you lost. That night I tore through Dutch's workshop filing cabinet. Olive drab metal, smelling like his cherry blend pipe tobacco. Folders of ancient lumber receipts, deck sketches, junked appliance warranties. At the bottom, Lake House, important, in Dutch's block letters. The deed was so old the paper felt like fabric. I held it under the work light. Parcel A, Lakewood Development Company, comprising 42 acres including lake bed, access roads, and all appurtenances thereto. 42 acres. My lot was 2.8. I flipped it over. That photograph, Dutch in some suit, grinning, shaking hands in front of a Lakewood Estates Coming Soon sign. On back, Dutch's handwriting. Partnership dissolved. Dutch retains master parcel, BK 1965. I sat on the workshop floor for 20 minutes, dust floating in flashlight beams, trying to make sense of it. 42 minus 2.8 left 39.2 acres of... what? Where did it go? The lake outside was dead silent. No loons, no wind, just my pulse and a distant pool filter. Dutch's grin in that photo. He'd known something, built something bigger than I'd understood. I'd inherited more than a house. I'd inherited a puzzle. And maybe, just maybe, the key to dismantling Vivica's little empire. But first, I needed to understand what Dutch had actually owned, which meant a trip I'd been dreading. The county recorder's office, 60 miles away through farmland I'd rather not drive through on a Tuesday. I looked at the deed again, 42 acres. The number felt impossible and somehow perfectly Dutch. The man never did anything small. My phone buzzed. Text from my daughter Emma in Seattle. Dad, Just pay the stupid fees. It's not worth the stress. I looked at the demolished boathouse through the workshop window, pile of splintered cedar where Dutch's handiwork used to stand. Typed back, "Some things are worth fighting for." She sent back 3 eye-roll emojis. Kids these days. No sense of righteous stubbornness. I made coffee, terrible 2 a.m. workshop coffee that tasted like regret and determination, and started making a list. County recorder, title search, maybe a real estate attorney who didn't cost $300 just to say hello. Dutch used to say, "Measure twice, cut once." Time to start measuring. The county recorder's office opened at 8 a.m. I got there at 7:45 with gas station coffee that tasted like burnt sadness and sat in the parking lot watching fog lift off the surrounding farmland. The building looked like every government office built in 1974. Brown brick, small windows, the architectural equivalent of a sigh. Inside smelled like old paper and floor wax, the kind of smell that makes you feel like you're in a library run by someone's disappointed grandmother. The clerk was exactly that grandmother. Doreen, according to her nameplate, 70-something, cat-eye glasses on a beaded chain, cardigan with a sleeping cat embroidered on it. She looked up from a crossword puzzle. "Help you, hun?" "I need to pull deed records for Mirror Lake. Property originally filed in 1963. Owner was Dutch Cordell." Her whole face lit up. "Lord, I haven't heard that name in years. That old Dutchman helped my husband build our barn in '74. Didn't charge us a dime, just wanted beer and conversation." She stood up, joints creaking. "What do you need, sweetheart?" "Everything you've got on the original Lakewood development." "Oh, this'll be fun. Nobody asks for microfiche anymore." She disappeared into a back room that looked like it hadn't been updated since Carter was president. 10 minutes later, she returned wheeling a cart with a microfiche reader, actual honest-to-God microfiche, the kind I thought existed only in movies about conspiracy theorists. The machine whirred to life, casting that weird blue-white glow. "Here we go, 1963, she fed in the film. Mechanical clicking, smell of dust and acetate. Bernard Koss files Lakewood Estates as a 42-acre development, lists Dutch as co-owner, 50% equity." There it was on the screen, typing so faded it looked like a ghost wrote it. Now, 1965. More clicking. "Oh, this is interesting. Koss files bankruptcy, market crash, poor timing. Only sold 3 homes before everything went south." She adjusted her glasses. "And here, quit claim deed. Koss signs his 50% to Dutch for $1 and other valuable consideration. He sold his half for $1? Bankruptcy courts don't care about fair market value, hun. Koss probably owed more than the land was worth. Quitclaim means he transferred whatever interest he had, no warranties, no guarantees. But here's the thing." She tapped the screen with one finger. "If it's recorded first at the county, it beats any later claims. First in time, first in right. Your grandfather got everything." My coffee had gone cold. I didn't care. "Is there anything after 65? Let me check." More film, more clicking. 1966. Dutch records a non-subdivision covenant. Keeps the 42 acres as one single parcel. Leases 4 home sites on 99-year terms. She looked at me over her glasses. "Smart man, your grandfather. Kept ownership, gave people long-term security. Everybody wins." "So the other houses, they're on leased land?" "If Dutch never formally subdivided, and it looks like he didn't, then yes. Every structure built after 66 is technically on his land." She kept scrolling. "Oh, wait, here's something from 1998. My stomach dropped. Dutch files an informal subdivision plat. Township probably pressured him for tax reasons. It's a common thing when areas start developing. He carves out 4 lots, including yours." She traced the screen with her finger. "But the remaining 38 acres, listed as common area retained by grantor." "Meaning?" "Meaning you own it, sugar. Roads, retention pond, that fancy clubhouse I heard they built. If it's on those 38 acres, it's yours." The world tilted slightly. "Can you pull the title for the clubhouse lot specifically?" "You're thorough, I like that." More microfiche. "Here, developer called Pinnacle Properties LLC sold it to your HOA in 2018 for," she squinted, "200,000. But look at the source deed. Pinnacle references the 1998 plat, assumes the common area was public land. But it wasn't." "Nope. Public land gets dedicated through a formal process. Filings, township acceptance, the whole 9 yards. This? She tapped the screen again. This is just one private owner keeping his land and letting people use it, until he says otherwise. I sat back in the plasticky chair. My hands were shaking slightly. So legally, hun, that HOA built their clubhouse on your land without permission. And depending on your state's adverse possession laws, usually 15 to 20 years of open, obvious use, they can't claim it just by squatting. They've only been there, 6 years? 6 years. Not even close. She powered down the microfiche machine. Your grandfather was smarter than people gave him credit for, built himself a kingdom and made it look like generosity. I drove home in a daze. The farmland looked different now. Every fence line, every property marker, they all meant something I'd never paid attention to before. Ownership isn't just possession. It's paperwork. It's who filed first, who recorded what, who actually read the fine print. Dutch had read the fine print, and he'd kept his ace in the hole for 60 years. When I got home, there was a padlock on my boathouse door. Correction, on the pile of lumber that used to be my boathouse, and a sign zip-tied to the remains. Violation, pending removal. Gus was standing in his driveway watching. Emergency board meeting last night, he called over. Vivica authorized a demolition contractor. You've got until Friday to pay, or they're taking it down. Today was Tuesday. I looked at the padlock, at the sign, at my phone where I'd photographed every single microfiche screen Doreen had shown me. Let them try, I said. Friday morning, deadline day. I woke up to the sound of diesel engines. Not again. I ran outside barefoot, seems to be my signature move during crises, and found a cat bulldozer idling in my driveway. 2 guys in hard hats and high-vis vests standing next to what was left of the boathouse, consulting clipboards. Stop, I shouted. You can't do this. The foreman, 50-ish guy with a gray beard, looked up. Got a work order, buddy. HOA authorization, township permit, whole 9 yards. You Max Cordell? Yes, and that's my property you're about to... Says here you got notice. Architectural violation, unpaid fees, blah blah. He showed me the permit. Official stamps, Vivica's signature, even the township code enforcement officer's name. Look, I just do what the paperwork says. You got a problem, call the HOA. I called the cops. They showed up 12 minutes later, felt like 12 hours, but the foreman had his documents in order. The township permit was real. Sir, if he's got authorization from code enforcement, we can't stop him, the deputy said. Not unkindly, just procedurally helpless. I stood there and watched. Again. 40 minutes of crunching timber and screaming hydraulics, the smell of sawdust and diesel mixing with morning dew. Every beam Dutch had hand-planed, every joint Lillian and I had helped restore, reduced to a pile of kindling you could have bought at a garden center. That's when Vivica arrived. White Escalade, Starbucks iced latte, designer sunglasses despite the overcast sky. She parked 50 feet away and got out with her phone already recording. Just documenting, she called out sweetly. For HOA records. I was shaking, actual physically shaking with rage I didn't know I was capable of. You're going to regret this, I said, quietly, calmly, the way you'd warn someone they're standing on a frozen lake that's about to crack. Threats, Mr. Cordell? Louder now, for her phone's microphone. I'm documenting everything. You're becoming increasingly hostile toward HOA personnel executing lawful. It's not lawful if you don't own the land. She lowered her phone, just for a second. Confusion flickered across her face. Then that smile came back. I'm not engaging with your conspiracy theories. You have a lovely day. She drove off. I stood in the wreckage holding the only thing I'd managed to salvage, that photograph of Dutch and Bernard Koss from 1962. Frame cracked, glass missing, but the picture intact. Gus walked over and put a hand on my shoulder. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. She just made the biggest mistake of her life, I finally said. Yeah, Gus nodded. She has no idea, does she? Not yet. I spent the weekend in what my